Good morning everyone and welcome back. I've just finished milking the second to last row of cows. That's them there, they're walking back to their paddock. So normally what would happen is they would come onto here and have a feed in the morning, but I've just cut that back. There's a little bit more grass around now, so I have stopped that. They're still getting their afternoon feed on here, and I've also dropped their supplement back just a little bit. So they're getting more in the afternoon than they're normal, but just less over the day. So normally I would hold the cows back at the cow shed and I'd let them onto the feed pad all at the same time, just so that they all have equal opportunity to have a feed. Whereas now they're going back to the paddock, but I've actually made a small break with the halter in it, and now I'm going to expand it, so I'm going to give them a bigger area, and this is how I do it. So you can see them there in that small break, and now I'm going to go into that one. No, not paddock 48, 46. I'm going to go adjust break. I think this is how I do it. And I'm gonna just make it a bit bigger. Like that. So now, extend without shifting. Yes, next. Review summary. Hold to extend. So there we go, that's it, easy as that. So those cows should move from where they are now. They'll just have that virtual line in front of them drop, and they'll be able to walk onto new grass. And that just means these cows which are coming down at the end, they'll be able to get fresh grass with it too. 4, 3, 2, 1, drop. So that breaks drop now. And you can see it change there on the screen. And look at that, they're through. Just so simple, so I could do that at home if I wanted to. You can pretty much see now to the left of the cows, or towards the trough on the top end of the paddock, where the virtual fences that I have set for them, you can pretty distinctively see that line across the paddock there. Now that I've actually got a little bit of grass around, a little bit in front of me, I can start using Halter to do things like this. And what I might do tomorrow is I'll hold them up in this break here, and then instead of extending it to give them the next half, I might move them. So I'll move them from this break to that break, so that there's a trough up the top there, so they can actually stay up there. The only reason I didn't shift them today was just because the last break included that trough, so that's why I extended it. Look, here's a cow. All that cow pushed the line there. See, it's turned it around and it's gone back. That is cool. They're not getting pulses, or I really see them get pulses now, because they're used to the cues of the sound and the vibration. So they know that if they're getting close, those cues tell them to go back, or they will get a pulse. I very rarely see cows get pulses though, so it is amazing technology. One of the cool things about Halter though is that they're always trying to upgrade and make the collars better. So recently they've just released 7 new features, and they're doing it over 7 weeks. So there's like 1 feature a week. It is the autumn release, and I think they also do like a spring one too. So at the moment they've done 4 of the 7 features, and one of them was that they have taken the shift time. So when I hold the button down, it's gone from 3 minutes from when you actually hold it to when the cows shift, down to 1.5 minutes, which I think is actually really cool. So the cows are just far quicker to respond from where you want to shift them. 1.5 minutes doesn't sound like a big deal, but when I'm milking in the morning and I want the next herd to come up, or I'm feeding out and I want the herd to come to the feed pad, it is actually quite good having it a bit shorter. One of the next cool features too is that they have put a feed budget in here, which is on the computer version. So this still depends on what package you have as well, but I have Stacey coming out at the end of the month, and we're going to go through it and just have a little look. But this is cool. I need to have a play around with it. It's got like milking cows, so you got to put in obviously that will depend on how fast you calve to what numbers you're milking, and then your demand, so that needs to change. I need to have a good play around with it. It's actually got a video to watch, or a tutorial, so maybe I need to watch this and I can change it.
We use the number of cattle, planned start of mating, mating duration, and 6-week and calf rate to predict your farm's unique calving spread. Oh,
that's quite cool. So it actually uses the scanning results to do this, but that can't be quite right because there'll be more cows calve in July. However, I need to have a play around with it. The next feature is to do with the milking shed. So I've taken a screenshot, and this is what it looks like now. So it's actually got a box around the milking shed there, and it didn't used to have that. So the new feature enables me to pretty much do the opposite of when the cows walk up to the shed in the morning. It means I can make the cows walk from the shed back to the paddock. And for most of the year, it's not applicable. Like, I'm not using it at the moment. I don't need to. These cows will go back to their paddock anyway. But I can definitely see it being quite handy in the springtime when we're calving. So you'll get the odd cow that'll leave the shed, walk back, and then she'll walk back up to the shed again. And it's not the end of the world, but it is annoying because it'll take me 15 minutes to walk her back down to her paddock. So if I can guide her back into her break and we stop that, that's more time I've got to do other stuff. You only need like 4 cows to do it on 4 different days, and there's an hour, so it all adds up. Then another feature is that they've added icons into the app as well. And a good example is, see this tree on the end here, it is pretty dead. So I could go onto my app like this, and I can hold my thumb over where the tree is, and I can click on that little which would be like danger sort of sign. So I'll add that pin in there, and if I zoom out you can quite clearly see it on the main farm app right there. So pretty handy, especially if you're on a big farm and you've got workers that look at the app, and you can just lodge stuff in there, or they can lodge stuff in there so you can see it. It's not quite so bad when it's just me and Dad, but I can definitely see it being handy on the bigger places. It's the next morning now. The cows have gone back to their break from yesterday, as you can see here, and now I'm just going to shift them onto their new break, which I've actually drawn in front of them, as you can see. So what do? I'm going to go drop break, shift to next break, and there's actually a black arrow there. So today the cows are going to get a signal to walk over that break. So yesterday it was just made bigger and I don't think they got a signal, whereas today there's actually an arrow in the break. So hold the drop, 3, 2, 1. And this is what I was saying about that 3 minutes down to 1:50. It's just a lot quicker, half the time. 3, 2, 1. They're shifting now. They should be getting a signal any second, and you can actually see the cows starting to move. You can see they must have got the signal. See those 2 cows to the bottom left? So they've got the signal. Oh, look here, look, one's going over. So all it takes is one. There we go. That girl in the middle of the paddock, she's gone over into the new break. There we go. And the rest will do the same. Bingo. So easy. Here we go, look at that. I think there's still a row that are coming back to the paddock, so they'll just come in and then they'll go into their new break where all these cows are, and then they'll be in that break from then on. They won't get the signal to move to this one, I don't think. There's the last row there coming back. That last row's in the break now. Sweet as. What an absolute ripper of a day. It's almost a bluebird. Not far off. Stunning. I've just sat down and I'm doing a little bit of planning going forward, because we're almost into May, or we're actually not too far off, which means the heifers aren't too far off coming home. Really, they're going to be home in about another week now. So I really need to sort my cow numbers out, and at the moment we're milking 267. I have 73 heifers coming home, so all these heifers need collaring, and I had to work out how many culls I've got to send off, because I'll have to send them off fairly soon. I have 13 empties in total, but I'm going to try and carry 6 of them over. Steve, who usually buys them off me, I asked him if he could carry them over for me, and he said yes. So I've got about 6 or 7 of them to cull. So my peak cow numbers next year, I want to milk 325. That's how many collars I have, and minus the 73 new ones coming in, that means I can only have 252 cows, minus the 6 carryovers, which is 246. So that 246 off 267, which I'm currently milking, which means I can cull 21 cows. However, I've got to take into consideration the empties, so 7 of them, that means I can only cull 14. Hopefully you're still following. So of that 14, I have probably about 4 to 5 cows that I want to cull for staff, so that means I've only got about 10 cows out of the whole herd that I can cull with like bad udders and just stuff like that. So it's probably a little bit less than I'd like, but it has been a challenging season, so at least I've got 10 to play with. Because the heifers aren't too far away, I need to get all these spare collars sorted so when they're back I can put them on. And this one here I actually replaced the other day. See, it's got a flashing red light. So it told me that this one was faulty and I needed to swap it for another one, which I have. I've also got a couple in here which need to be fixed as well. I think there's 3 or 4. Back when I was collaring, those ones would turn on and they would flash blue, but they wouldn't connect to the tower and go green. So I've just put them in there. I did try them and reset them a couple of times, but it still didn't work. So I've just put them in the red box like you're supposed to. I haven't done this before, so I'm not quite sure what to do, but I have sent a message through to the AI agent, and it just said, hey, I've got a couple of faulty collars, how do I go about fixing them? And it said, sure, I'll connect with someone soon. And I said one had a red flashing light and I swapped it with another, and there was a couple that wouldn't go green when I was collaring. I've literally just sent that through, so it won't take long for somebody to get back to me. Usually if I've got a problem or a question or something, I'll fire it through like that, and then usually within about 5 or 10 minutes somebody will respond and help out. Look at that, Lachlan's just sent a message through. He says, hey Andrew, was the one with the red flashing light on cow? I'll just say yeah, it was, and then he said we'll pick those collars up when we're in the area next, and you will need to order more collars when you are starting to get low on spares through the order form, which can be found at the start of the chat and is also attached here. Awesome. All right, I'll do that. I forget what the formula is now, but if you like order 100 collars, you get about 1%. It's either 1 or 2% spare. So if you have 100 collars, you'd have 102. So maybe for 300 we might have had maybe 3 spare. Maybe it is 1%, I think. So that's what he means there. I've just gone back and says yes, it was on the cow. Will the other ones that won't be connected be picked up as well? So what I actually need to do is put this collar in this red box. So Halter give you this red box, and this is what it is for. So that just goes in there like so. We have a count up. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 5 there. Lockie just messaged back and he said that collars really only need to be changed if they're under action required on the app, and it's actually not under there at the moment. So maybe I'll just try and run the magnet over and reset it and see what that does. Alright, so you hold it like that, and then that goes like that. There we go, it's reset. I got the wrong end. Oh, see, it's flashing blue now. So that means it's reset, and if that connects to the tower, that'll go green. So I might just leave it on the bench and see what happens. Actually, I might leave it out here in the sun. Usually takes maybe 15-20 minutes to connect. Because all these ones here aren't in the action required either, when it comes to collaring the heifers, I might just try and reset them like I've done with that and see what happens. And if I still have problems, I'm sure Stacey said that they can have a look on the computer in the office and they can like reset it from there. So maybe that's the way to go. But she's coming out next week, so I can ask her then and see what needs doing. Talking about the heifers though, I need some feed for when they get here, and I have shut a couple of paddocks up like this one here. I've actually just put a little bit of fur on, or I did yesterday, and I'm pretty sure the dew, because we're getting fairly heavy dews at the moment, it would have all washed in. Doesn't take much. The last time the cows are on here was about 35 days ago, so as you can see it hasn't grown heaps, but we have been pretty dry. But I've also shut another paddock up by the cow shed there. The cows were in there probably a month ago as well, so at least I've got 2. I'm also wondering whether the next one over I leave as well, but I think I'll need it for the cows. But if I'm getting rid of 20 in the next couple of weeks, that'll certainly help free up a bit of space. I'm actually herd testing in a week's time. That's the 4th and final one for the season, and that's quite important because that's what I'll base like the sow count off, for which cows get dry cow, etc. So probably start drying cows off after that. Maybe in a couple of weeks time the season will sort of be coming to an end, which I'm kind of looking forward to actually. It's been a hard one, but hopefully it's not quite as bad next season. However, that'll pretty much wrap things up. Look forward to seeing what other new features are coming out in the next couple of weeks. I do also hear that there is something in the pipeline coming up around the mating side of it, which will be coming out, I guess, before mating at the end of the year, so that'll be quite cool. But other than that, hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Oh no, look, it's flashing red again, so that hasn't synced up. Like you said, send them the serial number, so I've actually taken a screenshot of the collar info, so I'll send that through to him and he's gonna look into it. He said that one's faulty if they're flashing red like that, they do need changing. So there we have it, problem solved.